XPath versus CSS selector. Both locators are used to find web elements in a document. We can create custom locators using both XPath and CSS selector. XPath or XML path is bidirectional. We can traverse either from parent to child or child to parent. It works with displayed texts. Where CSS selector is unidirectional. We can only traverse from parent to child. Technically, it is faster than XPath. Create XPath and CSS selector from HTML tag. Here we have an input tag, which has 3 attributes like type, placeholder and ID and their respective values. First let us write XPath. It starts with / then tag name, inside the square bracket give, ID attribute and its value. Then, write the statement and use sendKeys method to enter text. Next, we write CSS selector using ID attribute. So we can write #uname and write the statement and pass the text using sendKeys method. What are different types of exceptions we encounter while using Selenium? First, let us see what is an exception. Exception is an unwanted or unexpected event, which occurs during the execution of a program that is at runtime, that disrupts the normal flow of the program's instructions. So proper exception handling is essential to make the automation scripts more robust and reliable. Different types exception we use to encounter are no such element exception, element not visible exception, element not selectable exception, stale element reference exception, invalid element state exception, timeout exception, unhandled alert exception, WebDriver exception, session not found exception, no such window exception, no alert present exception, unexpected alert present exception, move target out of bounds exception. How to handle element intercepted exception. The element intercepted exception occurs when we try to interact with a web element, but some other element is covering or overlapping the target element, and preventing the interaction from being executed. To fix an element intercepted exception, we have few strategies. Let us see one by one. First, use explicit waits. Explicit waits ensures that interactions occur only when the condition is met within the defined timeout. Find the locator for target element, then wait until the element becomes clickable. Thus it avoids the exception. Next, use JavaScript to scroll to the element. If the element is not within the visible viewport, scrolling it into view can resolve the issue. Here we use Actions class. First create an Actions object and then use it to perform a mouse hover over an element. After the hover, you can interact with elements that become visible, like clicking a drop-down item. How to scroll a page in Selenium. To scroll a page in Selenium, use the JavaScript executor interface to execute JavaScript code that scrolls the web page. Both scrolling by vertically or horizontally can be achieved in Selenium. Scroll down by 250 pixels. First, create a JavaScript executor instance named JS by casting the WebDriver instance driver to the JavaScript executor interface. Then, use the execute script method provided by the JavaScript executor interface and pass a JavaScript command, window.scroll by 250, as a string which tells the browser to scroll the web page vertically by 250 pixels. In this example, first it log in to the application and scroll down the page by 250 pixel. Here we have code for scroll up, scroll to specific element, scroll right and scroll left. How do you navigate through frames in web application testing Selenium Java? To navigate through iframes, use switch to .frame method. Switch to .frame method allows to switch the WebDriver's focus to a specific frame on the web page. This code snippet demonstrates how to navigate to the first frame whose index is 0. And then to switch back to the main page, uses switch to .default content method. Next we have switch to a frame by name or ID method. So, switch to the frame by specifying its name or ID. And then switch back to the main page. Then we have switch to a frame by web element method. First locate the frame element using a suitable locator method like by.id. Next switch to the frame by passing the web element to driver.switch to .frame method. And then switch back to the main page. When we work with multiple frames and want to go back to the parent frame, use switch to parent frame method. Soft assertion versus hard assertion in TestNG. Both soft assertion and hard assertion are used to validate conditions in test cases. Let us see some of the differences between the soft assertion and hard assertion. Soft assertion or verify is a customized error handler. It is a not static method. It will not throw exception when assertion fails and continue with next test step. Where in the case of hard assertion, if the assertion fails, it will mark the test as failed, and it will not execute any further steps within that method. It is a static method. Basically, it checks whether a specific condition is met during the test and halts the test immediately if it's not. Soft assertion is useful to validate multiple conditions within a single test case. But hard assertion is used to perform single assertion in test method. Here we have the example. With soft assertion class, create an instance of soft assert and then perform soft assertions. In hard assertion, it checks if actual value is equal to expected value. Invocation count. Invocation count attribute is used to specify the number of times a test method should be invoked in a test suite. More useful when the same test method is repeated multiple times with different data or under varying conditions. Used for load testing, data-driven testing, or to verify the stability and reliability of a test case through multiple iterations. In this example, the invocation count attribute is set to 3, so the test method will be executed 3 times. Invocation count plus data providers. This is to run the same test method with different data sets for each invocation. Here, we have data provider method which will return a 2-dimensional array. And the invocation count is set as 3. So the test with data method will be invoked 3 times. And it will use different data provided by the test data method for each invocation. What is Jenkins used for? Jenkins is a continuous integration, continuous deployment automation server that focuses on automating the CI/CD pipeline. Allows developers to automate the building, testing, and deployment of code. Provides automation for repetitive tasks such as code integration, testing, and deployment. Triggers builds automatically when changes are pushed to a version control system like Git. It can be integrated with a wide range of tools and services, including version control systems such as Git, SVN, and the build tools, like Maven, testing frameworks, and deployment platforms. Thus, Jenkins is valuable for managing and visualizing the entire CI/CD process. It is highly extensible and has a rich ecosystem of plugins that enhance its functionality, and it supports distributed builds, allowing you to distribute build and test tasks across multiple machines for faster execution.